Look at that.
I could do it.
We'll call to order the Board of Finance first budget process meeting at 7 o'clock on February 2nd, 2023. Welcome, everyone. I don't think we need to seat any alternates tonight. We've got everybody here. And so the first thing, I think we can dispense with that. Present to speak. Public participation is desired and encouraged. Speakers will be limited to time and appropriateness of comments to maintain progress, stay on topic, and maintain decorum. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Yes, I see a hand there.
It's
Is that Nick Tella?
Hey, Nick Tello, 49 Myrtle. Just real quick, I was listening to the CIP meeting the other day and saw that the fire department might try to rush their building onto the school bond if that was to go through. And I just wanted to voice concern to you guys if they're going to try to do that. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who is present to speak? Oh, there we have another. Do we? No. Can we scroll down? That's it? Anyone in the room present to speak? You're going to be in a minute, aren't you, Jen?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, well, we'll go to the first item here for a new business. This is the budget presentations for the beginning of the budget process for fiscal year 23-24. And the first up is animal control, Jen Miller.
Okay.
Thanks.
Good evening. I'm new here. I haven't met most of you yet, but I've just started with animal control. This is my first time actually presenting our budget, which there's been 0% increase for the 23-24 budget. So that's a good thing. I guess I'll just go down the line of what we are changing or keeping the same. The dog warden wages are $18,781. I am currently the only ACO, so we're gonna decrease our temporary help from $400 a year to 0. Payroll benefits increased by $105. Pound repairs are staying the same at $1,500. Truck gas and repairs to maintain our vehicle are staying the same at $750. Donation expenses are $1,000, that remains the same. Our telephone has decreased due to only having one phone, as I'm the only ACO, so we were able to decrease that line. TN communications should remain the same for the year at $3,500. Advertising, that's when we have an animal that's come into the pound and we're trying to find the owner. We're keeping that at 50, or sorry, it was decreased by half, so down to 50. Vet fees, we increased that by 200 only because we've seen an increase of animals coming in due to people losing their homes and having to surrender animals and other circumstances. Security system is still at 0. Miscellaneous supplies, which is our cleaning supplies, we've decreased that by half down to 150. Usually if we ask the community for help, they are very willing to help and donate those items. Dog food will remain the same, that's at 150. The heat remains the same at about $1,500 a year for the pound. Training remains the same at 120. That shouldn't change. And then state of Connecticut fees, which is our licensing fees and annual animal population control, remains the same at $3,700. We have revenue of $4,000 for license fees. The dog warden fees remain the same at $500. The license surcharge remains the same at $1,500. Animal population control, $200 remains the same. This is from the vouchers that we do for the state for spay and neuter. And then $1,000 remains the same for donations. Again, our department is requesting the transfer of $26,835, which is the same as the current budget with a 0% increase.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna ask the board for questions, but there are a couple of
Yeah.
trends you pointed out that I wanted to just draw you out on. And
Absolutely.
one is Do you, I don't know if you have any numbers on this, but do you have some context on more surrendered animals? I mean, how much
We-
activity are you seeing?
We've had, so far, we've only had 2 dogs that were recently at the pound that were surrendered, but that was due to the family being evicted from their home's in foreclosure. I also work out in Stafford, and out there, we've seen a huge increase of people just leaving animals in evicted apartments. You know, so we're just following the trend of other towns and just trying to, it's becoming an issue all over the place. Hopefully here it doesn't become a huge issue, but when they call me and say they're being foreclosed on and they absolutely can't keep their animal, I feel that we should be taking them in and finding them good homes. And we do recoup some of the costs that we bring in with
Mhm.
adoption fees and donations, so that helps.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna open it up to the board for questions and, anyone haven't seen anything they'd like to ask? Pete?
Yes,
Line 352 license surcharge and 430 animal population control is
yeah,
100% to the state. Does that mean that we take that money in and then send it back out?
yeah, pretty much.
So-
There is an animal population control program. It's a survey that the state allows us to do every year. I don't think Wellington has ever participated in it. So what happens is I'd have to work with the assessor's office, find out how many houses, apartments, campgrounds, and then I can go around and do an audit, and I can just knock on random doors and find unlicensed animals. When we do that, we get money back from the state, so
Alright.
that's something that I'm gonna try. That's where that animal population control comes in, and that'll help us keep some of that money that
All
is
right,
moving around.
I guess my question there was, because it's 100% of what you bring in goes back to the state, is that really a revenue? Or is it revenue neutral?
I guess you would say it's revenue neutral.
All right, thank you.
Yep,
When we have to give 100% back, right?
Yeah,
right,
We just have to record it somewhere.
Yeah.
It has to
yeah.
show money
Be
in, money
administered,
out.
yeah.
somehow.
Anyone else have a question? I wanted to ask you why you think the heating will be flat, given we've seen a lot of percentage increases in other budgets.
Not sure about that one. I think we kept it, that was something that, I guess I can ask Troy about it. This is my first winter here, so I'm not sure exactly. We just looked at the trend in the past several years and it's remained the same. We've been under that, so we've been
Okay.
able to move money around a little bit by the looks of it.
Propane, right?
Yeah, it's
And
propane.
you're tracking, your actuals are tracking for this year. so
Yes,
Just wanted to check.
yeah.
I think that's, I mean, do you feel like it's safe to rely on gifts for donations for some of that? Okay,
Absolutely, the community is very generous when it comes to,
animals.
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Anything you want to ask us about this process or?
I don't think so. I figure I just, like, so I said, I came in this time just to kind of get a feel of everything. And like I said, this is my first time actually doing my own budget. The other town I work for handles everything 100% and I don't really have a say. So this is kind of nice. And going forward, I'm sure it'll be easier and I'll be able to track things like the heat easier and keep track of all that too, so.
Well, thanks, Jen.
No
It's a,
problem.
you're a good one to start with. It's kind of like the sorbet, you know?
Appreciate you coming in person.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you. Sure,
Welcome,
no one else?
welcome to town.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we have Alan online? Alan Humphrey?
I'm not sure. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Hi, Alan.
Hi.
So next up is Parks and Rec and Alan Humphrey.
All right. I guess I'll start by saying that there really isn't too much change from last year. I have 3 large increases that I'll explain. The first is the landscaping. I know we went through this again last year, but that was more to correct errors that had happened in the previous budget. This time, our plan is to change the next bid process for the town. Instead of doing it how we're doing it, which is extremely convoluted and difficult to understand, we would like to change it to a flat fee per month with whoever the next landscaper might be. And basically what that means is we would just pay a set amount every month, and the landscaper would cut the grass whenever it needs to be cut. They're gonna cut back brush whenever the brush needs to be cut back, so it's gonna be cutting the grass and doing some of these special jobs that we normally have to pay extra for as well. This is probably gonna work out in, it's gonna be much easier for everyone involved, but it's also gonna probably work out for the town because the grass is gonna be cut whenever it needs to be cut. Sometimes we're limited by, the number of mowing jobs that we can do per season. The landscaper can't do more. So if the grass needs to be cut every week, the grass will be cut every week. The only way that this, isn't gonna benefit us is if we have another drought season and the landscaper has to cut the grass every 3 weeks. So that's basically what the new system we want to move to is. And something like this is obviously going to cost more money. So what I've done is I have increased the field contract for the town office building, River Road Park, and sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought. The school contract. I've increased all those by $1,000, and we're hoping that, that would cover the cost of the increase for this new type of contract that we would like for the landscaping. The second large increase is in the electricity. This one is probably self-explanatory, but I'll say real quick, we are installing 8 new lights around the walking track at River Road Park. Obviously, this is gonna, increase the electric bill, and that combined with the fact that the electric rates are rising. I kept hearing that they were gonna go up 50% this year, so they've already gone up a little bit. That's why I have a $800 increase in that line. And the last big change is in summer camp counselor staff wages. The reason why that has gone up, we have 3 reasons for that. The first is last year, we did not know that we were going to have ARPA funding for summer camp. So our initial plan was to scale back summer camp a little bit in an effort to not lose as much money on summer camp. So that's why the number is what it was last year. But now that we have ARPA and it's going to be half funded this year, naturally that program is going to be likely as big as it was last year. And it was a huge program. And this also takes into account the minimum wage increase that we have. And those are really the large increases. And it's worth noting as well that if you look in the line item for summer camp staff wages, you're going to see, $7,700 increase or 6,000, whatever it might be. But at the bottom, right above the new total on expenses, you'll also see ARPA infusion. So that reduces that cost by $5,025, where the new total is accurate, which reflects the ARPA infusion.
Okay.
Alan?
Sorry,
Sure, go
I'm
ahead,
just
Pete.
butting in.
Pete has a question.
You said you were raising each of them 1,000, but I noticed that under the field maintenance town office building, you didn't raise it 1,000, you kept it the same, the other two you raised it.
So the field maintenance is not the same as the field contract.
Fact, all right.
Field
Thank you.
contract is the cost for the landscaping to do the town office building.
Beautiful, thank you.
Do you have a question?
Yeah.
Christina?
Alan, can you explain the differences in the wage increases for your salary and the assistant rec director? Because I thought it was 2.75 across the board for everyone, so these are both higher, but the system one is at 8.2%.
So that, I'll be honest, the wages part, the wages section on here, I did not calculate those numbers. That's just what was calculated out. So originally it was supposed to be an even higher number, but it was reduced because I'm no longer a member of the union. That's just the number that I was given.
Okay, Donna, can you explain?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
well, I could tell you that I have worksheets to back it up, and the assistant rec director is a union position. So yes, you're correct, 2.75% would be the increase. I'm thinking that what's approved for this year is just understated for whatever reason. The correct number is really 11,000 and just happens to be 8.21. So I could send you this spreadsheet, the worksheet, to show exactly why it works out that way.
Does that include a step or something? Because instead of 8.21, shouldn't it be 2.75? I'm just, you know, you get a 2.75% raise and shouldn't
Yes,
it be a 2.7?
yes, but the number, the number that's budgeted for this year, $10,832,
Yeah,
too low. So I'm gonna have to correct it, for next year,
all right.
is what is happening.
Was that position even filled though this year? Because it looks like it's tracking really low. Like,
Yes, I don't believe there is yes, there is an assistant. Alan has an assistant.
When did the assistant come in, Alan? Can you give us some history on that?
I believe he came in I want to say January or February of last year. Or 2022, I should say.
so shouldn't the wages be
Yeah.
like half of what was budgeted, at least? Like, it looks like the person's only worked there for a couple of months with the amount of money that
Right.
is already been expended.
It's probably working less hours than the position is written for.
Okay.
So Donna, I'm not sure I understood why I'm not sure I'm capturing why it's 8.2% for the next full calendar or fiscal year.
Because it's calculating off of the current year of 10,832.
Okay,
That number is too low. If that number is what it should be, then the increase would be 2.75%. But since it's a lower number,
is it low because of the hours that are expected to be worked, or was the hiring in at a lower rate higher rate than budgeted?
it's a good question. I'll look it up on the salary spreadsheet, tell you exactly the budget assumption for the assistant rec director. I'll send that to you in an email.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Joe?
Oh, and I have a question for you. Going to flat contracts for maintenance. I understand it might be easier to do, but it looked like we did really well there last year. I know personally, just my own yard, I was able to go from probably June through almost August mowing it one time. I mean, wouldn't it be safe to say, I mean, I understand maybe there's more work involved and more parties, but it looks like we saved quite a bit of money for what we budgeted for versus our expense.
Well, you have to also remember that we still have more landscaping to do until July. So there's going to be more money tacked on to all these lines. And we may not have received a final bill, well, not a final bill, a bill for work that had been done. So there's still more work to be done. And I will say that the landscaper did a good job of, you know, looking at the situation, and, you know, there were times that he didn't come in and mow. You know, like if there's no water and the grass hasn't grown, and if he mows it, it's gonna, you know, just burn. He was good about not doing that. So there may have been a number of mowings that he passed on this last season due to the drought. So that's probably why, you know, it looks like a lot of money's been saved.
Yes, sure, Christine.
My question is about the decreases in youth programming and basketball youth, like both of those have big.
Yep. So I can explain that. The reason why there is a large decrease in basketball is because I feel like that number more accurately represents what basketball is in this town now. So I've run basketball for 2 seasons now here, and although it used to be the biggest sport that the town had with the most kids, after COVID, it's just not the same. There used to be between 8 and 12 teams in the town. And last season we had 5 teams. This season we had 6 teams. You know, I even expected more teams this year. I figured last year was, you know, everybody was coming out of COVID and, you know, people were still unsure, but now we're past that. And that's the reason why I feel like I scaled that number back to more accurately reflect the true expense of basketball. The other one that I lowered, I believe, what was it, summer programming?
It says
Youth programming. So I could tell you what that was. The youth programming was an idea that I had last year to run summer sport camps. And I offered a lot of them, and not many of them ran due to lack of attendance. You know, a few of them no one signed up for, a few of them only a few signed up for. So I'm going to run them again, but I don't anticipate, you know, a big change in that. You know, the basketball one will definitely run. I'm going to really try and push flag football again. There were a couple of people interested, but there wasn't enough to run the class. So I'm going to try that again, but that's the reason for that decrease is, you know, I expected it to be hugely successful the first year, and it was not hugely successful. So that's why I scaled that back.
And along those lines, the yoga, it looks like it hasn't run in a couple of years, but.
So yoga is running. I just started it. We just had our 4th class on Wednesday. It should have been our 5th class, but we had to postpone one of the classes due to the weather. So we had our 4th class yesterday, and I am paying the instructor after all of the classes are done. So that is why there's no expense yet in that, but it's been pretty successful. It's been more successful than I thought it would be, and I'm happy about that. on average, on average, we had, 7, 8 people. So we're hoping that continues to grow, and it's something that I want to offer year round.
Used to be very successful, so I think you're onto something there.
Can I piggyback?
Yep.
So Alan, one of the questions I have is leading into this spring, it feels like that this is kind of the first, as far as basketball goes, or I know it's like a school year season, but into the warmer months. Is there a chance that will rebound more, so to speak, than it has in past years? Or are you really feeling that this is this trend is becoming permanent?
I'm thinking that it's a permanent thing, there's a lot of factors, I think there's just less kids. I think, not to harp on it, but, I think COVID really affected youth activities and youth sports. There's kids that, they started playing sports, and when it ended, they were done with it. They had no interest in returning to play afterwards. So like I said, I was expecting to see even more teams sign up this season, and I was surprised that we only ended up with 6. Now we do have, we offer high school as well. So, Willington and Ashford combine to offer high school basketball. So we had 5 high school teams last season, and even that dropped by 2 teams. So we only have 3 teams, and these teams are a combination of Willington, Ashford, and Mansfield students, and even some Columbia students. So it's not just Willington that's seeing this. In fact, we did have enough players to have a girls' high school team, which ranges from 9th to 12th grade. So it's not like you're just pulling JV players or varsity players, you're pulling everybody from the school from 3 towns. And we ended up with 6 players. And I talked to 16 different towns, within the an hour and a half drive of our area. And there were no girls' high school teams. So there was no one for them to play. So we had to cancel that team. So it's not just a Willington problem. It's a everywhere problem.
It's one of those things that every population may learn it anew or may think it's just gone. So maybe a question of what you're doing in your publications line or your outreach line. I don't know if there may be an opportunity there. I was wondering if the rental fees are expected to show some life, because we've got on the revenue side, some projection of $4,000 that isn't really holding up so far this year. And of course, I know the good months are coming. So that may be a big difference. You see where
Possibly. I mean, I can't really speak to that. It's again, there's some of these numbers have just been in the budget, year after year. So, I mean, that's kind of what the expectation was, so, I don't know how many people are going to come ask to rent, the pavilion. I don't know how many people are going to ask to rent the basketball court. I've never had anyone rent the basketball court before, even though it is possible to rent it. We have, a soccer club that rents the soccer field for a short time in the summer. We probably had maybe 20 people rent the pavilion last summer. And then the town office building baseball field has a men's baseball league that's their home site. So we have all their home games there. And that's the majority of the things that get rented out, where the revenue comes in. I mean, I know that the baseball league is going to come back. I'm hoping the soccer league comes back. I know they had plans of their own to to make fields. I guess they own some land right next to River Road Park that they were planning on turning into fields for their own use. They haven't done that yet, so I'm hoping that they come back again. But, you know, it's a lot of stuff that I don't really have control over. You know, who wants to rent, you know, spaces at the park or at the town office building field.
Okay, and was also wondering about fundraising expense. I'm not really sure what that's back on the expense side, low on the budget there. It looks like there's not much activity, but you're projecting 4,000 in expense.
Yeah. You know, I'll be honest with you. I may have missed that. I probably would have dropped that if I had really thought about it.
Where are you, Sue?
It's at the bottom of page 1, sort of 4 lines up. It's fundraising expense. It's under community
Got it.
service program. And it hasn't been trending, that kind of spending, so I just want.
I have a question. I don't know if this is more for Donna, but so at the bottom, the way I'm reading this is in 21-22, you asked for $154,334, but only spent $116,000, which means that all of that extra money is just sitting in your fund balance. Is that correct, Donna?
So in 21-22, a request was for 82,534.
Oh, yeah, no, in case that wasn't right.
So I make sure you and I are looking at the same thing.
Yeah. Where is that?
Where is that? Yeah,
Because
because
I'm looking at the very bottom of the page
92.
where it says 154,334.
You're at 0512.
Yeah, and that's just the revenue, so I see that now.
Yeah.
So what was the ask from the general fund, the total?
So from the general fund, the ask was 52,534, and the rest were fees from the programs for a total of 154,334, which equals the expense budget on the front page, 154,334.
Oh, I see, okay, transfer from general fund, it's, if you guys can see the screen up here, it's right here, 3 lines above total revenue. So 82,000, so they budgeted $82,534 coming from the general fund, but actually spent $83,534, so they overspent the budget. So there isn't any money that just is staying in the fund balance. Okay. And so, but now the ask is 96,000.
For this year,
For
yes,
this
it was
year.
96, and next year it's 100,422.
Right.
and where does it show the that's the ask, but where's the actual or the figure you were talking about? You said that.
Yeah.
Transfer from.
general fund. So that, this is last
Oh,
year's.
no applied fund balance.
Yeah. So the ask of $100,422 is 4% more than the current year we're in, but it's a lot more than it was in 21-22. And I can't do that math in my head. Sorry, I just know it's a lot more.
About 18%.
And I wonder, did the rec commission talk at all about using some of the fund balance to help reduce the ask?
Can I jump in again?
Sure.
So I anticipated that the fund balance conversation would come up, and there are a lot of jobs that need to be done, maintenance jobs at pretty much every location that haven't been done ever or in a really long time. And I can give you a bunch of examples of that. The Halls Pond rope system that we use to section off the pond so people don't swim past it, that entire thing needs to be replaced. It's very expensive and it's already been destroyed. We destroyed it in order to remove it and not use it again. Basically, it's the gentleman that helps Alan from the fire department put out the system and take it back. He said that system has been there and it's been old since he started putting the rope system in. And it's actually a little dangerous because it's frayed so badly, or it was, now that it's gone. You would get these weird splinters whenever you touched it. So that's going to be a big cost. That whole system needs to get replaced, and that's a special like cable rope. It's buoy. Needs a lot of sand. That's been it's been a few years since. I mean, it doesn't look great. It needs all new sand there.
Do you have a figure for that?
I don't have that.
Estimate? No?
But the fence that is at River Road Park that separates where the cars are from, the grass and the walking track. A lot of those posts and connectors are rotten or are splintering, and they need to be replaced. And I talked with Troy about it just because I had no information about it whatsoever. And he said a company has to come in and replace those. And no one post or railing can be replaced. In order to replace something, they have to pull the entire fence out and put it back in. So that's going to be, I would imagine that's going to be a very large cost to come in and, here that we need one replaced, and here and here and here. They're gonna have to pull out a lot of it in order to put it back in. I would also like to buy a infield raking machine. I know that in the past we have relied on the landscaper to do that work. But I would like to buy an infield groomer and do that work at the fields. We have 4 baseball fields, and we need to really get that maintenance going. It's difficult to ask the landscaper to do it more than is budgeted for. So it's budgeted for once, I believe it's once per month, to come in and use an infield grooming machine on the infield. And it really needs more than that. And so we can't really pay for more than that. And I know this one it's another tricky spot because, we haven't had Little League. So the area, the infield down at River Road Park hasn't been used for games in a number of years, but the Little League team does come in and practice on it. So it doesn't look very good. I'd like to get one of those machines and really keep it up, which could also lead for more people to come in and rent those spaces, if we have them available and they look nice and they work out for everybody. So a machine like that used is $2,000. A new machine can be $7,000 to $9,000 on that. So, we have things that need to be done. And then there's also the fact that Halls Pond loses thousands of dollars every year as well. I believe we lost $6,000 this last year. Every year it's that I've looked at the records going back, it seems to lose between $6,000 and $8,000. I think one year it lost $10,000. There's really, that's another, it's always going to take a loss no matter what. So just something to throw out there.
I don't want to zero in, but what you were just saying kind of begs the question of how much are we getting out of this new contract that's like 15 grand more or something. Maybe I'm missing something, but if you can't ask, that person to groom the ball fields.
It's not that I don't, what I mean when I say that is that it needs to be done more than it is. And in the current, you know, bid that we have, it's supposed to be done once a month and it's not enough. So I don't, even if we went to a new system, I mean, I'm not sure. That's probably the exception to the rule of everything that I've been talking about with, and as far as doing the work when it needs to be done, I can't imagine that he's gonna, or whoever gets it is going to come out once a week and do that infield work, or, you know, once a month versus once a week, you know? That's why I was thinking that I would just, you know, take over that duty.
Okay. Jim, did you have something? Sorry.
That's all right.
I have another question.
Oh, go
Well, I
ahead.
guess it's a two-part, but I'm just looking at, there's quite a few programs that have had no activity and last year or yet this year. But you're seeing the same, so the safety training, the boating course, the arts course, the trips, like none of that's been happening.
So
And are you
I can-
expecting?
yes, I just had a meeting 2 weeks ago. The trips we are going to start the trips up again. I'm working with Bolton, Ashford, and Mansfield, and we are going to offer 5 trips. I believe the first one is going to be in April. My particular part in the trips is I am responsible for completely organizing the trip that is going to happen in December, which is likely going to be a bus trip to Essex to get on the Polar Express train for their Christmas show. So the bus trips is going to start up very soon. The arts course is something that was supposed to start this month, but due to unforeseen circumstances with the instructor, we had to postpone it. So we're looking at officially starting that next month. That's a program that's going to run on the 3rd Thursday of every month at the firehouse in Willington. The safe boating course, I was trying to find a way to get that done. I really wanted to try and work with my real goal was to try and see if we could get the Willington Fish and Game Club to offer that. Although I haven't really talked to them about it yet. But I would like to start that up, and the Rec Commission does want me to offer the babysitting course again this summer. That's one they said was always successful. So a lot of these ones that haven't run, they are set to run.
And how about pickleball? And what's going on with the pickleball field? That was a-
Pickleball, there is not a lot of interest in pickleball. So that's another thing that COVID killed. It used to run every Wednesdays at Hall School. And I talked to the pickleball supervisor, the woman that used to run it, and she moved out of town. So she gave me the names of 2 people that she trusted that would be able to run the program on, every Wednesday. And they're done playing. They're not interested. I've reached out to a number of people on the list of, people who attended. There's just not a lot of interest for that right now. And I know that was a growing sport here, particularly when Maureen was the director. But I only have, I've only heard from about 3 people that are saying that they want to play pickleball, but you need more than that to run a program.
So did Jeff say
You
that?
afford to play a
Oh, you
game.
said that. I just want to, take a second because I asked Donna to put together a 3-year look back on the presenters, which we'll do every week. Or, maybe the next one will be the rest of the gang, to kind of give you context for this budget year. So if you'll look on that, the dog fund has been pretty flat.
Is that this one?
It's kind of, yeah, it looks like this.
All right.
In fact, I don't know if you want to put it on the screen
Well,
or not yet.
if I can find it, it
Was on that, with all.
No, I
the-
know, but they're.
Don't worry about it.
It's hard.
It might- Okay, that's fine. So just to go off that, I mean, of the ones that have already presented, Parks and Rec did go up in the year that we were talking about, 21% when they reached the 83,000, they were 69,000 before. And then they went to 96.5, and that was a 15.5% increase. And in 23-24, there's a 4% increase to 100,000. So there has been a lot of growth in the request from the,
Pardon.
pardon?
I'm just,
Yeah.
no, I'm sorry, I'm just talking to myself.
This year, percentage wise, isn't as high, but the trend certainly has been. So. Is that helpful to you guys to
It
have
is.
that?
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Alan, anything you want to ask from us or clarify or?
No, I mean, I guess it's just a statement, I knew that the fund balance was gonna come up. I've heard, stories from my peers that that's usually something that is talked about. I would just encourage you all to understand that there are a lot of the things that we have into as far as Parks and Rec will require maintenance, and they are beyond the scope of what goes into the regular budget. And a lot of these things that I'm talking about, they need to be done, and they have never been done, or they haven't been done in a long time. Another job that just crossed my mind was that at the town office building baseball field, we have an issue with foul balls that get hit over the fence. So that's something that happens regularly, and they go into the neighbor's property, and the neighbor does not like people going onto their property or to reclaim their balls. So that's one of the biggest gripes that we have from the Hall Memorial School baseball team and the men's league that comes in to rent the field is, each ball they buy is like $12, and they're not allowed to go into the other person's property and get those balls. So my goal is to put a top part of the fence on there. So basically what would happen is any foul ball that goes up is going to hit the top of the fence and come down. So that's it's a little thing that's probably going to cost, a few $1,000s to go on there. But in the long run, jobs like that make it a lot better and could possibly bring in more income. I know one of the gentlemen from the baseball league told me, that's a huge downside to playing on our field. That's why other people don't come in and rent it besides that team, is because people know they're going to lose balls. And the other thing is, the quality of the clay that we have there is very poor. And that's just the way it's always been. So this year, what I did was I went and I bought clay bricks, which is something that should have been done a long time ago. And what that does is it reduces the wear and tear on the field tremendously. After every inning during a baseball game prior to the clay bricks, there would be huge, like 1 foot divots on the pitcher's mound and stuff like that. And that's because of poor clay. So the options are to fix that with clay bricks or bring in very expensive clay, so I just want it to be known that while there is a good amount of money there in the fund balance, I plan on using that money to fix a lot of these maintenance issues that we have. That's all.
Could I just offer that, that some of those things, and especially lumped together, because there has to be a minimum of 10,000 in a CIP program, but that's how we got the pickleball court. That's how we got a lot of lighting on River Road. That's how we're addressing, well, I guess ARPA's addressing the drainage problem there. But it sounds like more of, those several things that you listed sound a lot like capital versus maintenance. But I understand where you're going. I just want to offer that as an avenue for doing that, since there's quite a few of those.
Did that court go in?
Pardon me?
Did that court go in?
No.
No. Yes.
I would suggest, Alan, if you could list out these projects and kind of give us a total, because 55,000 is a lot to be carrying in that fund balance. I don't know that I've ever seen that get that high, and it's because a couple of years there, I think a lot because of COVID, it just wasn't spent, and then it just sort of sits there and accrues. So,
So, okay, if I may, that 55,000 really should not include donations from the Lions Club. So those donations from the Lions Club are supposed to go to certain things. And the number one thing that's supposed to go to is to buy a new score. Actually, we don't even have a scoreboard at the town office building field. So that's what that money is supposed to be used for. When I got here, Bethany was in the process of trying to find a scoreboard. It's something that I haven't been able to do yet. It also seems like scoreboards have gone up a lot in price. So that $13,600 is really going to be going for a scoreboard and then the installation of the scoreboard.
Where is that? Under the Lions Club, you mean?
Yep. Fund balance designated for donations, Lions Club.
Okay, thanks. Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions from the board?
What kind of scoreboard?
Pardon me?
What kind of scoreboard is he still?
Oh, yeah, he's still there.
Al, can I ask what kind of scoreboard that is?
What do you mean?
What
Like,
type?
I mean, it's just a baseball scoreboard, like a standard, like I don't know, different brands. I know there are different types, there's a type of scoreboard that has every single inning on it, and balls and strikes and everything like that. A scoreboard like that is around $20,000. So that's obviously not what we're going to be getting. But nowadays, I think a reason why they cost so much money is because they're basically run with Bluetooth, so that somebody there has a remote, and so every time somebody scores a run, they push the button, and it's got to have all that connectivity and stuff like that.
But that's kind of what I was getting. You're looking at a digital.
Yeah.
It just seemed like it was either too high or too low, or whichever way you're going. But for my personal, expertise. I have a quick question for you, Alan. Do you have a time frame on getting a scoreboard?
Well, I'd like to get it in the spring.
So within the next month and a half?
No, I mean, it's still cold. I'd like to get it in when it starts to get warm.
Okay, thank you very much, Alan. I think we should. Yeah, I think we should move on.
Ready.
Okay,
Now see Jenny. Hi.
Jenny's already. Hi, Jenny.
Hi, everyone.
This is Family Services.
Yes, that's correct. So I'm going to start off real quick by introducing myself. I think most of you know me. I'm Jenny Arpin. I'm the Director of Human Services. My department used to be known as Youth, Family, and Social Services, and that's because this department is responsible for a lot of things. We do family-friendly events and youth programs such as summer camp, social services, which are things for the families in town in need. And we also have other services to include senior medical transportation, Meals on Wheels, and programs for the elderly and disabled. As stated in my budget narrative, my budget does come in at an increase as a result of two factors: the senior center coordinator position and summer camp, both of which are offset by ARPA funding and eventually will be fully incorporated into my budget. In my narrative, I mentioned the need for the senior center coordinator. So our town has a large senior population and two sections of senior housing. Seniors were very isolated during the pandemic, and having the coordinator allows for them to now experience programming, health services, and other initiatives which improve their quality of life and ensure that their daily needs are being met. Children were also impacted by COVID. Parks and Recreation, along with this department, submitted an ARPA request last year to assist with the financial burden of the cost of running summer camp. We had 50 children every week last year, and our program was very well received. It afforded the ability for our resident children to safely socialize and enjoy experiences they had not been able to do in previous years. So I wanted to take this moment just to thank you for your understanding of the diverse needs that this department covers, and I appreciate your support in helping this department help the community.
Thank you. Are there any questions among the board? I did want to ask you about the number of employees at the summer camp. Since you have that, as you explained, going up 6,600, I just wondered, are they at minimum wage, and about how many
Yes.
is?
So we have one camp director and 5 counselors.
Jenny, can you refresh my memory on the staffing? So just because of the way the numbers are on here, I can't remember how it went. So there's that's straightforward. Then there's the assistant that is already tracking to be overspent for this year. Like but I think we put some more money into that.
No, so I originally last year had asked for my assistant's hours to be increased to help with the load of need in the community. Instead, we opted for the senior center coordinator position. So the senior center coordinator is now in place. That person was hired. That person is my former assistant. Right now, I have no assistant, so my department consists of me and the senior center coordinator only.
Okay, so nothing's been spent out of the 17,000 for the senior center coordinator, but basically those two numbers should be added together right now, the 60, the assistant and the senior center coordinator.
No, they're two separate positions.
But one person's doing them both.
No, I do not have an assistant.
Oh, I
That
see.
position is vacant.
So why is it being overspent then?
Because I required extra help during the summer months.
Okay. So the senior center that coordinator salary hasn't been paid. It hasn't been paid
So
yet.
the reason why that reflects in this, that the person has not been paid, is because it says expenses through 12/6/22. That person started 12/12, I believe.
Oh, I see. Okay, so they've only been there a few weeks.
Correct.
Okay, is that what you're gonna? Donna was
Yeah,
raising her
I'm
hand,
here.
I think.
That position is being charged to ARPA,
Yeah, right.
directly to ARPA, so there's an offset in the
Mhm.
budget, so you won't see it charged to this budget. But
Okay.
it's coming out of the ARPA budget.
Okay,
But but for 23-24, why is there 6,240 in there if no one's filling that?
Because the
Assistant.
need is still there and I still need an assistant. The position has not yet been posted. I've been unable to fill the position. And I did not increase the wages because the person will start and they would not be getting the raise this year, this coming fiscal year.
Other questions? If, in general, maybe there could be a little context just to remind people, because not everybody's followed on this board has followed ARPA quite as carefully as you needed to and as Christina has. So maybe we could talk a little bit about that, because if you look at the 3-year look back, and I know that a lot of it is probably the senior center person, because that's 30 hours a week or around there.
Yes, 25 hours a week. So our
which,
senior center, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I know that we're phasing the cost of that was covered by ARPA in the first year. And is it 50%, 25% this year, or how much more growth is ahead of us is what I'm trying to get my head around. Because the 3-year look back is last 3 years, 7.9% increase, 2.7 in this current year, and 34% sought in the next fiscal year. Because we're taking on that position as a town employee.
That's correct. So I'm going to start out by indicating that, first of all, a lot of people are not aware of the fact that our senior center is not municipally run. It's run by a core group of volunteers. We had one specific volunteer who would be there every single day to unlock, turn on the lights, to answer the phone, to do all those things. In her 90s, she decided to retire, which makes perfect sense. And at that juncture, there was nobody to do that. There were no volunteers. Nobody wanted to devote the time. That's part of the problem with having volunteers. So we took the need for that position along with the other needs that presented themselves as a result of the pandemic. And we opted to create the senior center coordinator position. This person is there. She answers the phone. She opens the place. She also is responsible for classes, for wellness programs, for all those kind of things to ensure that the seniors at our senior center can enjoy their retirement, that they don't have to run everything. They can be as involved as they'd like to be. And it also ensures that their needs are being met.
So the town's part of, the cost of that the town is assuming in 23-24 is 25% of the full, or 24%, or 50%.
So Donna would be better able to speak to that than me, but due to the fact that this position is a union position, what we had originally planned had changed because the salary had been increased as a result of the union contract.
Donna, could you?
I think Christina, did we do 100%, 30, and do you remember? Because you laid it out really nicely.
yeah, I have to look at my spreadsheet. I think it was over 3 years. It
Yes, I
stepped
think it
down.
was over 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was 150 and then 25.
Yeah, that sounds about right, 150.
Yeah, so
And
the
then-
first year we paid 100%. So this coming year, ARPA
It'll be
covers
50.
50%. And then the next year, 25%. But like what Jenny's saying is that's kind of blown out of the water because it was estimated off of wages that were, I'd say, significantly lower than what they ended up being when it became a union position. So
Correct.
it has to be revisited at some point.
Yes, because I think we're only gonna get 2 years out of it.
Right.
We won't have enough money for.
Right, and then it'll be a
year
big-
three.
big jump. Jenny, the senior center, like the programs and things that get run, do the seniors cover the cost of the materials to do the things over there, or, because I don't see that anywhere in your budget.
Yes. So the senior center budget has a $1,000 line item for senior programs.
Mhm. Okay. That's not enough.
Questions? It is a big number. I mean, I know at the time that all this was discussed, there was discussion about ARPA taking on projects that grow into ongoing budget impact, and I know all that discussion's been had, but given that the playing out of it has meant that the salary's higher because of it's become a union job, that wrinkle, I don't think I was fully aware of.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and also at the time when, we thought, give it a year or two and see if it's working, if it fills a need. And so I think, Jenny's.
saying it
It's still,
is.
it's still pretty new too, though, too.
Well, our senior center coordinator started, like I said, in mid-December. And for the month of January 2023, she ran 11 more programs in January alone at the senior center, which is fantastic. It's a great start.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to relay?
No, thank you.
Thanks. We should have start on the budget account, off budget accounts. They're always confusing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, next up is the library.
I found it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to start by thanking the support that the Board of Finance has given us over the past few years, trying to catch up on things that we've needed to do. And we're hoping that that support will continue. We do know our budget has gone up this year, but we need an increase to make sure the library continues to run efficiently after the return from the pandemic. You can see one of our largest increases is our payroll. We have the minimum wage increases, so the positions that we do have all gone up approximately $1 an hour in order to stay in compliance with the Department of Labor for the state. One of the issues we have is that prior to the pandemic, there were 7 employees, 2 full-time and the rest part-time. And at this point, we are short that. We didn't need everyone during COVID. And so we have requested a full-time, actually 2 more part-time positions. One being a new programmer to replace the full-time programmer we had before COVID, and a second page. It is required that there be someone at the front desk to help patrons or answer the phone at all times. And with only one person available at the front desk, if someone needs help elsewhere in the library, there is no one at the front desk. So we really need a second page to cover that. Second increase we have is previously we had in our budget a line item for health insurance for the director. It has not been needed for the last few years because the directors had not requested the health insurance, but we have learned that when we offer them health insurance, if they decline it, there is a waiver to help pay for their private insurance for a total of $1,200 per director, which equals $2,400. And one of the directors has also taken just the dental insurance.
which includes an amount of $695. Office supplies have gone up from last year. They have gone up to the amount for 2 years ago, which was 5,000. Last year, we had dropped it to 2,700 because there had been a donation to help with the purchase of office supplies. Currently, that donation has run out, and we've requested that it go back up to the 5,000 it was 2 years ago, and that would actually include the purchase of a new patron printer for $1,300 to replace a 16-year-old model, one that has been there since the library opened. Another thing that was added to the budget that had been in place a few years ago and was taken out for COVID is trash removal. During COVID, when we didn't have a lot of patrons and there wasn't a lot of trash, the library employees simply took the trash to the transfer station themselves. Now that we're back to being open full time, there is enough trash every week to justify adding trash removal back to our budget. One of the problems is, though, in the 2 years that we have not had trash removal, going back to the company that had been doing it previously, their price has doubled. Okay, another increase we have is with grant money that was offered during the pandemic. The library purchased a set of hotspots for the patrons to check out and use. And they have been very popular, but it's now going to cost $1,080 a year to maintain that internet service, to continue to have them available for checkout to the patrons. Another thing that has been replaced that was in pre-COVID is professional development. For the last 2 years, professional development to the Connecticut State Conference has been negligible because it has been on Zoom. This year, they are going back to face-to-face, and therefore there is a cost for sending the 2 co-directors to that conference. And there is a large budget item that is a new line item that we have not had before, and that is a $13,500 request for a one-time building repair. This is to repair HVAC units on the roof. That is the quote we have gotten from Action Air, who maintains. There has been damage to these HVAC units, a lot of it due to the fact that a lot of maintenance has not been done over the 16 years that the library has been open, but they are damaged and they need to be repaired. So that is a one-time ask just to repair those units.
Did you say 13.5 for that?
13.5. That's what should have been. Oh, it says 11.5 here. Okay. Okay, then 11.5.
There we go.
Sorry, I was reading my copy instead of the copy that was on the screen. I apologize.
It's actually more. Is it more?
No, the 11.5, if that's what's on there, is correct. Mine is incorrect.
Okay, are there questions from the board?
Is, since we have a new light on it for the HVAC repair, do we feel that our building maintenance budget is accurately capturing continued upkeep of anything new? Because it doesn't seem to have changed.
It hasn't changed because now that the building is 16 years old, there are some larger things that have come up, but we have submitted those to CIP, hoping that they will be able to get done over the next 5-year period. CIP is requesting that we actually have an audit come in to actually look at everything that does need to be done to the building.
Got a few questions.
Go ahead, Joe.
As far as the trash removal and adding the $2,000 line item, wouldn't the custodian be responsible for that, seeing as we're given an increase in pay?
Well, that is what had been being done is the custodian was simply taking it, putting it in trash bags and taking it to the transfer station. That custodian has left. And the new custodian is not really interested in doing that because of the amount of trash that is now being generated.
Find somebody that is interested in doing that, kind of goes along with the job.
You mean as far as doing it
Part of the job.
privately?
If you're a custodian, your job is to handle trash, and if somebody puts gum under a table and any rubbish and mess.
I think what they're doing is they have a dumpster outside. They stopped using the dumpster and now they want a dumpster back.
So is the $2,000 the payment for a dumpster?
It's the payment to reinstate the dumpster and have Willimantic Waste coming and picking it up on a regular basis. Yes, that is what it's for. Because this custodian picks up the trash in the building, puts it in bags. But currently the bags are simply being put in the back of their car and taken to the transfer station. We would like to have the dumpster back so then the custodian can just put those bags in the dumpster out front.
A mile from the transfer station. Second question I have, where was it here? Propane. You put down an increase of $1,150 for propane.
That was a number we generated with an assumption of what the new price might be due to inflation.
Gotcha. It's just trending. It doesn't seem that that budgeted item had even come close to the requested amount. And sorry, go ahead.
We just weren't sure. It's just with inflation, we knew electricity was going up, propane was probably going up. We just did a percentage and increased it.
It is true that, Joe, that the animal control budget has propane and they're doing it flat
I
because
have
of,
propane in our office
same
as well. It has
question.
gone up a little bit, small increase. And then as far as the payroll, are either of our two directors able to help out with maybe some front desk, frontline duties?
They do when they're available, yes.
With two, are they really 40-hour busy, 5 days a week?
It's actually 6 days a week because the library is open Monday through Saturday. Yes, they do a full 40 hours. They work different shifts. Hope works the morning, Deb tends to work the afternoon and the evening. And so there's really, for the most part, only one director there most of the time, except for an overlap just after lunchtime. So it's not like we have those, it's not like the library is open 8 to 5, 5 days a week and both directors are there. That's not what the library hours are like. And they have been covering. It's just been difficult with everything else that the directors have to do.
I'm just trying to see if we could find a way to alleviate the need for an assistant.
I understand that completely. One of the assistants that was put in, I'm not in the right place on this budget. Hold on a second, let me see. The assistant one that has been put in, one of our co-directors had been, prior to becoming co-director, a full-time programmer. And we did not have a programmer after she took that position, and she ended up having to do the programming for the summer reading program all by herself. So the request for the assistant one is to have someone come in part-time to not only set up the summer reading program, but all the programs that we have during the course of the year. And the second new employee we put in would be a front desk page.
Okay, yeah, I'm kind of confused because it says assistant two on the budget request. Go ahead.
Well, Karen, could you tell us I'm just confused about how many hours everybody was working and how many hours they are working now. Because you had said that there used to be 7 employees, 2 were full-time, 5 were part-time. So in this budget request, how many are full-time and how many are part-time? And how do the hours sort of like, you know, the worked hours, I guess, is one way to look at it.
Okay, only 2 are full-time. Those are the 2 co-directors. Everyone else would be part-time. And I'm sorry if I got the assistants backwards. Assistant. I'm trying to figure out what. Yeah, it's assistant 2, I guess, that is the programmer we're putting in for. That would be 18 hours a week, 52 weeks a year. Hang on one second. Let me find my payroll list. I had all these printed out, but I have so much printed out, I simply have to find the right page, so I apologize.
Well, Karen, for assistant 2, it shows that it was approved for this current year, but nothing's been spent on it yet. So,
Actually, that was spent. It was spent on overtime for Deb doing the summer program. So I don't know why that shows it wasn't spent, because it was.
Deb is one of the co-directors, so
Deb is one
that,
of the co-directors, and she had been our full-time programmer prior to becoming co-director. And we
But-
put in for a programmer last year, and the library never hired one. And Deb ended up doing the summer programming herself, and we ended up paying Deb overtime for that.
Are directors salaried or hourly?
They're supposed to be salaried. This was a huge debate about the
Okay,
payment
overtime
on
salary
this.
Position, okay, got it.
but that isn't reflected anywhere in the current expenditure though.
right, because the co-directors are trending, your actual spending is
Yeah,
about half,
yeah,
right?
the actuals are both the same, 19,401 for both of them. So where did that 13,506 go?
Okay, 13, I don't know what line you're looking at.
Third line down,
Yeah, assistant.
The
Assistant.
third
two.
line down for assistant
Yes.
2.
Mhm.
yes,
Okay,
13,566.
I'm sorry, this is awfully small on my screen. 13,566 from last year.
Well, that,
Year,
that's this current year, that's what was requested, and
Okay.
from what you said, that went to Deb. So
Yes,
then,
I'm sorry when I said last year, I meant last year's budget. Yes, that was supposed to hire a part-time programmer, and instead ended up paying one of our co-directors overtime, even though our co-director is a salaried position and should not have been paid overtime. That's where it ended up going.
but then one of those co-director lines should
Show that OT.
show should show 19,401 plus 13,566. It's showing that money wasn't spent anywhere.
Okay, then that is a mistake when the budget was filled in, because yes, that money should have been added to what the co-director was.
but I think the confusion is nothing shows in for that OT as actual spending. That's
Okay.
happening
Um,
anywhere.
and I understand that that's the problem. I don't know why it isn't showing up. It should have, because the money did get spent. I will have to go in and modify this budget. I'm sorry, the co-directors did this budget page. What I have is things that I printed out, not the Excel sheet. And so that will have to go in and be changed, that did go to one of the co-directors. That was paid in the fall, after the summer program was over. So I will have to go in and fix that. I apologize.
That's okay. So who were the two full-time employees before? There was a programmer that was full-time, and then
Yes.
the director.
Yes,
One-
prior to going to 2 co-directors, we had a full-time director and a full-time program.
And then who were the part-time people? There was a one assistant, two assistants, then these clerks and pages?
Yes.
Okay, so two of each? Or,
No, there was one assistant one assistant two, one clerk two, and two pages. But we've discontinued the clerk two.
okay. I think
And then the two full-time are the co-directors.
The co-directors are the two full-time. And then assistant two has been put in for a new programmer. Clerk two was discontinued. Clerk one is someone we currently have working approximately 17 hours a week. She works in the back doing computer entry of new books, labeling all the new books, shelving the books. She does a lot of the computer work in terms of the acquisitions. And we discontinued clerk two. And then we have clerk one, who is someone who works to cover the front desk when needed and shelve books, accept returns from patrons, check them in, and then shelve the books. And our two pages are basically our front desk people, and they don't all work at the same time. Their hours are scattered, so we don't have all these people at the same time because the library is open more than 40 hours a week.
Donna, could you help explain the fund balance underspending, because the 40,000 discrepancy there, or not discrepancy, but underspending the award of the 225,000 in 21-22. Could you help explain that?
Sure. I could see by the budget report that in fiscal year 21-22, the ask was 225,000. And so that's the amount that the town gave the library. Okay, then when I look at the actual expenditures for the year, right above it, I can see that the library spent 200,000. So they received 225 from the town. They spent a total of 200,000. So that's an operating surplus of 25,000. I can also see that they had some other revenues, interest income, friends of the library, which that's a kind of
Right.
that washes with the expenditure above it. But they had a little bit of patron fees and building use money and some miscellaneous funds.
So, given that, and I think people know that that's the way that the special funds work, is the money stays with, it's paid by the town on an annual basis, stays with the entity. The library's got a different setup, of course. And it stays with them to deposit in other specialty funds that you have, or to do whatever. But one of the questions I would have is how some of that money could be applied to the extra expense in this budget, to maybe consider carving down that
Okay.
ask share.
I will tell you that 25,000 basically went to cut
To
we
what?
were in from the previous years.
I didn't hear your word. You it cut
Yeah,
off.
you cut
Oh,
off.
sorry. Most of that 25,000 that looks like it's extra covered the fact that prior to these years, the library had overextended, spent what the town had been given. So this basically went back into trying to cover some of the expenses from the previous years.
And you mean to the town in some way?
No, we had to go into,
Oh,
basically, I guess what you call our slush fund and dropped it way down because the library had lost money. That basically went in to replenish that so that we had some money for emergency spending.
What is that balance now?
You would have to ask our treasurer, Rebecca Cartibiano, because I don't have that.
And Donna, you don't know that, right?
I don't know that.
One of the things I wanted to ask about that, because I know that you guys have several funds that are, that are managed by the library and not a part of this process. But the question I have is, are some of them earmarked funds, like, for instance, for maintenance or for special maintenance, like, something like that you would, but there's a bigger repair or replacement, like that back door or something like that. And if so, if you're doing that kind of stuff that that you are also asking the town for, I'm just kind of wondering if it's earmarked funds, are you using some of those funds for that purpose? Or, just the purpose of the funds might help us understand what's happening there if you're doing that.
Okay, except for this slush fund that we keep for emergency. I hate to call it that, but we have an emergency fund. Every,
Reserve fund,
Reserve fund.
yeah,
I'm sorry, what?
call it a reserve fund.
Okay, except for our reserve fund, everything is earmarked for something. We have an account that's earmarked for purchase of technology. We have a couple that are earmarked for purchase of books. We do have an account that is earmarked that is supposed to be to finish the basement in the library. The library is becoming overcrowded upstairs and over half of the downstairs has not been finished. Right now, the young adult section consists of one wall upstairs. And so we have been looking to place a young adult room downstairs and possibly a couple more meeting rooms. Yes, there is money, but the more money we spend on things that haven't been done, repairs that need to be done, the less that's going to get done to finish. And we have polled high school students that have come in, other young adults that have come in, and they would like a place to go that would be their own, which is why we were looking to consider putting a young adults area downstairs.
Thank you. Pete, Jeff, did you guys have questions?
No, right now.
Okay, and if need be, I can get Rebecca to contact the Board of Finance with the balances in all our accounts, because she is currently our treasurer. I know she has access to those, but I don't currently have access.
I just want to be careful in saying we know that we're not in management over those funds. I just want to make sure that we're sort of working in tandem with you on how, what kinds of things those funds are geared toward or earmarked for that might have some spillover, and then also kind of looking at what the town awards have been and what has actually been spent. If we can, kind of make those realities come together.
I understand that. I do. It's just, if we were to use our one building budget to do some of the things that we have requested from the town, we would not be able to do anything downstairs in the basement. And we would still be limited to the fact that our young adult section is simply one wall upstairs. They have no place to really go to relax and read a book. And so we were hoping to be able to save at least enough of that money that we could at least start with something downstairs in the basement. I know that is a large fund, and I know it's been sitting there for a while, but I've only been chair of the board for 2 years, and it has been in these 2 years that I have been chair of the board that we have started making plans for the basement. I don't know what was done prior. to
Well,
that.
and I know that's been a long-standing plan. I know that fund in particular is for the future of the library. And there's a lot of unfinished real estate down on that lower floor. So we understand that. But I guess one of the things I would ask is, there's no figures factored into the revenue. It's the bottom right corner, folks, in the third column at the bottom. There's no projections for revenue. And given that there was, 15,000 last year, 18,000 so far this year, is it reasonable to project some revenue offset in that bottom right corner?
Yes, there is. Again, the directors filled this out. I do not know why that is empty. Yes, there should be some projections there. We should be able to, okay, from last year, we did have that $6,000 grant. Our income from the Friends of the Library went down, but our donations went way up, which was very nice. So yes, we could assume that some of what we've asked for, possibly another close to 20,000 possibly, might be offset from revenues. I know that there are grants that have been applied for. The more those we can do, the more we can offset our budget.
Okay, because you're asking for, about 56,000 more this year.
Yes, I know.
20% increase, and that 3-year look back that we've been sort of talking about is large for you guys, because we have, we did a big push the year that the director was making the case that before your time on the board, was making the case that you guys needed to amp up your employment status and your employee base to be able to go for the big $1 million grants kind of thing. And so there was they did a presentation for the Board of Finance. We that year, 21-22, increased the budget 18%. Last year it went up 7.5%, and this year you're asking for 23.3. So so I know that you haven't been, board chair that long, but we're trying to get this closer to, you guys assuming some of those increases that we're talking.
The problem was that what the former director came in and pushed for back when he was director never got done. And there are grants that we cannot apply for currently because we don't have what they consider to be enough of a staff. Because we can't make sure that our front desk is covered by 2 people at all times, we're considered underfilled when it comes to our employment. So I do understand. I never worked with him. I came in after he had left. I guess I came in about the time he walked out. I do understand that he did ask for a lot, and the idea was that this would get ramped up. With COVID, it didn't. Yeah. And now we're basically asking for the same thing that he asked for when he was in. Can we ramp this up so we could be eligible for some of these bigger grants?
Would you, on the revenue issue, come back to us with some figures for that part of the budget, so we can look at those?
Certainly. Yeah. I will get you those, and I will get you the balances in our accounts and what each of our accounts are earmarked for.
And Karen, for me, it's not even so much how much is in the accounts, it's more of how much has the reserve fund grown as a result of underspending the money that's been given to library over the years. So,
And as I said, it hasn't grown like you would think, because the years prior to my joining, the library had been, what's the bad one, in the red? Is that the bad one?
Yeah,
For, yeah, for a couple of years. So our reserve fund had gone way down. So this 25,000 that didn't get spent in the, what is that, 21, 22 budget? Basically
Yeah.
went to restock that reserve fund.
okay.
okay. I was able to go back, I was looking for some old budget things for something else, and I saw the, on our website, the budget from 2008 or 2009. And I was just curious of like what the spending was in all the departments, and the library was probably a couple years old then, and the budget was 102,000. And that's what it was for a couple of years, like the 08, 09, 9, 10. So it's more than doubled in
I think that's correct.
years. And so I'm just curious what the reserve fund has done as well, but it sounds like
Correct.
it went down, so.
Okay, I will get you that. That is not a problem. I have been told, as I said, I was
26.
not part of the library board at that time, but I was told that prior to my coming in, the library had run in the red. So that is where that 25,000 was going to, was to replace the reserve fund.
Mhm. Okay,
We're gonna get, we can ask for further detail and clarification on that programmer and assistant two
Did you hear that?
item as well. The assistant
what-
two that were
what-
spent as overtime.
Okay, I can hear that, but I don't know what you want for clarification.
Wasn't all spent, for one, I guess, like.
Yeah, okay. Yes, okay,
Because that was a 13,566 budget for a position for the full year, I assume.
Yes.
Whereas whether the funds all spent, and I guess I'm trying to judge, you're asking for 18,000 for the same role now, so I guess I'm wondering if it was able to be accomplished in 13, are we over?
well, the problem is a programmer was never hired last year. So we
Understand, but
d-
it sounds like the workload was accomplished through overtime to the director, correct?
yes.
So,
So when the position was put in back again this year, from what the director found with the amount of time she was trying to do the programming, that 18,000 is up from the 13 because it was decided that more hours were needed in the course of the week.
Is it possible there'd be more of a wash there if it's overtime pay versus straight time if you hire?
I don't know what you mean by a wash.
Well, your co-director gets more, and so if it's time, it was time and a half paid in actuality for her to do that programming. If you hire an assistant two, which I would think is a lower pay grade, to do it in straight time, it seems to me, why would that go up to 18 grand?
Okay, well, originally it was down for 12 hours a week at $17 an hour. It is now listed as 18 hours a week at $18 an hour.
Has the position been filled?
No,
Do you have any candidates or an estimate when it may be filled?
we have a candidate. I'm not sure exactly when they would be available. They are currently working as an intern in the library and are interested in taking the position, but I'm not sure exactly when that would happen.
Is it possible that the $18,012 would be spent the same way as it was the prior year?
No,
So if we don't fill the position, this $18,012 doesn't get paid out.
exactly.
But then it would end up as a reserve fund.
I guess transfer.
And Karen Ann, the other increases, I know you had said some are, like, so that the $18 that you just made me wonder, like, is that all because of the minimum wage increases as just having a ripple effect, and like that both co-directors have a 4.3% raise, which is higher than
We-
what average in the town is.
Okay, we basically worked everything out to be $1 an hour increase for every employee at the library.
Okay.
So that's. But still, would that have been, if it were at the town level, 2.75, that wouldn't have allowed that $1 an hour kind of idea.
Now, what did you say it was, 2.75 increase?
2.75 is what the presumption is in the budget for increase based on union negotiations
Union
and
and the non-union.
and the
people.
non-union.
Everybody in town got two
The
point seven five.
2.75, that's the figure. Yours is,
So-
1.5 over that.
Okay, well, I will be perfectly honest with you. I had never heard that. So 2.7
5.
increase. 41.
That's what it happens to be this year.
60 equals that much divided by that, divided by that. Yeah, it would be less than $1 an hour increase for the two directors. It would take them up to 42,000 and something for a 2.7. I'm using the wrong calculator, so I can't go back to what I had.
I mean, it would, if it affects that pay rate, it'll affect all of them, below that. So. As well.
Yeah, it would drop the two directors from 43,680 to 42,990. But we cannot change the pages. The pages are at minimum wage. Those cannot be changed. According to the State Library Association, clerks and assistants should be paid more than minimum wage because they are more educated and more experienced. So the minimum wage is going up to $15 an hour. So we have the clerk 1 at $16 an hour, the assistant 1 at $18 an hour, and the programmer assistant 2 at $18 an hour.
No, wait, the number 2, because I thought your narrative said $19.
It's, I don't have anybody down for 19 hours.
Okay,
Um,
$19 an hour.
okay, my narrative. I don't remember having it in the narrative as, so you would have to scroll down so I could see what that narrative is, because my paper,
Oh, sorry.
It does say 19. in
Yeah,
the
that,
budget report.
it's in the first paragraph under assistant 2, talking about the
Okay.
program working 18 hours a week for $19 an hour.
okay. As I said before, I'm working off my papers,
Yeah,
not what the directors directly sent you, so my numbers may be a little off.
I think it might be good if I think what the areas of clarification are, in some of those. But overall, I would say you've got a co-director situation, which there was much discussion when that was set up, 2 co-directors, which is sort of the CEO of the library, and a share in a job share kind of thing. I would hesitate to think hourly about the pay there.
I know, they're salaried positions. It's just when we were raising the hourly pay for the employees that are part-time, it was just what happened. If I had known that 2.71 was what the town was offering, we would have put that in.
2.75, maybe you could go back and look at that.
Okay.
Okay.
that's fine. Like I said, I had never heard that number till just now.
Okay. Donna, do you have anything to add? Are we off in our understanding of this? Or
I don't
on?
think so. I think you're on.
Okay,
I think you're doing a good job.
thank you.
Steph, would
Way
you
to
be
butter us
okay?
up.
I was just trying to map out the before situation, and I want to like make a little spreadsheet.
Okay.
And. would
Oh,
you-
I know how you love those.
Well, just because I can't understand it until I do that.
Okay.
And look at the map. So if I did that based on this information we have and send it to you, and then you send it to Karen Ann for clarification to make sure, and then we can share it with everybody.
Sure. Does
'Cause
that sound good to you?
Yes, because I too like the picture,
Yeah,
the spreadsheet,
The visual?
yeah,
but I don't want to write it.
I like to. I feel compelled to do it.
Key committee, I love Christina's spreadsheets.
They are
Oh, thank
good. They are good.
Yes, we can certainly do that clarification. That's not a problem. And I apologize that the papers I have were not exactly what you have, but we can certainly make some of those clarifications and get back.
There's no question that the library's always been kind of a hybrid that the town has struggled with, on budgeting, and we,
Not always.
not always, we feel your concern. So,
And I did see Deb had her. hand
Oh, I'm
up at the
sorry.
library.
Deb,
That was a while ago. It's
Deb
all-
Linares, did you want to unmute
Well, her.
or can we?
Hi, thank you, everyone. Yeah, there are some discrepancies. Maybe I could help clear up a few things. With that $25,000 that we didn't spend, at the time, there were many projects that needed to get done, but were not able to get done before the budget time closing of June 30th. We are working on them and they still need to get done. But, and you'll notice that as the year goes on with our end of the year budget, I'm sure, because we probably will have to delve into the leftover that was put into the fund balance. With that also, not only were there projects that weren't complete, there were a few companies that we were dealing with where there were disputes on invoices that we were not going to pay until it was taken care of. They're slowly coming in now. So, and bills will start getting paid where we weren't paying them because, like I said, there were disputes on them. So some of that $25,000 that was spoken for, it just didn't get used in the time that we were hoping it should have.
Are you, Deb, are you
A
talking
lot of
about?
that is because of people not available at the time to do their job as fast as what was normally planned on.
But you're talking about underspend, that's the reason for the underspending in fiscal year 21-22. So we're. is
Yeah,
that
it was
what you-
$25,000 that we were talking on line item.
Right, right.
Well, the end balance, I should say, for that. Also, you mentioned something about in years past, Christina brought up as far as, I think she was saying 2009, 10 or whatever. I don't know if you are familiar with the history, but there was a time for many years, we opened with certain amount of days and hours, and it wasn't but a few years into it that we actually ended up closing down to save money. If you're noticing lower budget numbers, we actually were open less. And it took us a good, my goodness, I bet you, I wouldn't be surprised, good 6, 7 or 8 years after that to get that money back and those hours back up to what they used to be. So if you're seeing some kind of a lower pricing there, that is what that would be about. When you talk about the minimum wage and the dollar across the board, I just want to have you keep in mind that we have always been, with the exception of directors, I'll say, not underpaid. The wages were less than what other libraries across the state were getting for doing the exact same thing. what we have tried to do over the last couple, 2-3 years is to bring that up. If it weren't for the minimum wage being mandated by the state, we probably wouldn't have been able to have gotten that money. So we wanted to keep it fair wages all the way across. When you mentioned the 2.75 as far as doing what the town does as far as their wages going up, that's all well and good, but then maybe we should think about getting paid, the same kind of money per hour for what we do for our jobs to kind of make that fair and even. We're still not getting paid, even with these increases, what, as I say, other libraries are getting in the state for doing the exact same thing. So I just, I get that there, because I saw it on the Board of Selectmen minutes that, that is what's the percentage for cost increase with the wages, but I think they are starting off in a much different place than what we are. And we're just trying to make up so that there are fair wages across the board. And you guys have been wonderful the last couple of years. And I don't see any changes for next year, with the exception that now it'll start going up with the state's cost of living, which has never been done before. So that'll be nice. And I think that'll even the playing field out, for everybody going forward. It's just the last couple of years we've been trying to make up for what was lost.
I'd like to point something out about what the state expects. What we are paying, what we asked for the 2 directors is $87,000 approximately. And there have been people that have said, well, we could save money if we only had 1 director. But if we went back to 2 full-time employees, a director and a programmer, we would not be saving any money, because the minimum that the state expects a single director to be paid is $56,000. That is the minimum the state expects. And prior, when we had a full-time programmer, the pay was $29,000 a year. I'm sure that's gone up, but even if you take 30,000, you add that to 56, we're at the exact same as we're paying our 2 directors. So we are getting people at quite a bit lower cost than what the state says that we should be paying a director.
When
So
you
for
say the state, are you talking about the state, the library professional?
Library Association.
Not the statute.
No, not the state of Connecticut, the State Library Association.
I just wanted to clarify. Thanks.
Big difference.
It's not a law, Governor Lamont, no.
Okay, anyone else? Thank you very much for this. I think if you could help us with some of this, that after Christina's spreadsheet comes and gives us more information or framing, that would be really helpful, because as a town, and this is maybe a good way to sort of close down, we are talking about some big issues on the burner, and budget increases of in the double digits is sort of going to be harder and harder for us to wrap our heads around.
I understand, and we are more than willing to give you any more information that you need.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Where the heck is my, oh, here we go. Yes, correspondence. I have not received any correspondence that you all don't know about. Well, I was wondering if you guys would be okay before we do present to speak, and if Jim's okay with it, if is it reasonable to do an update from you as the SBC rep for Board of Finance?
This is a special meeting, and add that to the agenda.
I know. Do you think we should do that? Or do you not really want to go there?
I don't think we can add it to the agenda on a special meeting. Can't.
You can't?
No. Special meetings, you
Is that
can't
your
add to
sense?
the agenda.
Okay. Never
We'll get you at the
mind,
regular
everybody
meeting.
just,
We'll get you to-
so, so I'll say something in good and welfare then. And then, so we'll go to present to speak. Anyone in the room? You get another chance. I'll come back to you if you want. Anyone online who would be present to speak?
Yes, Zafir Hussein here, 48 Myrtle Road.
Who is that? I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Zafir Hussein, 48 Myrtle Road. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, thank you.
Okay. I just got 3 points that I'd like to make. I would say, first point is we need a comprehensive itemized list of tasks and projects that need to be done in this town. There's a lot of good information that was shared, and there was a lot of good projects that I think should be done, but we're not getting visibility on those projects. So I'm asking, with these items that need to take, for these projects, we need to take into account the project costs in addition to potential cost savings. It's apparent that maintenance and upkeep is not being prioritized or is being overlooked. This was apparent when the director of recreation, I think I'm saying that incorrectly, was talking, and he was mentioning outdated maintenance tasks. I would like to request that this list of projects be compiled and shared with the public for visibility and accountability. We are a small town. We have a limited budget. We spend a lot of time talking about the library's cost and giving people comparable wages. And I think that's important. So, that's this type of compiled list of items I would really like for this committee to put together, because in essence, you guys would be funding these projects. The second point I have is that it seems like we're working on putting out fires first. These are short-term problems, rather than looking further into the future of bigger scoped projects such as roads and building repair and field maintenance and wages. And it just is taking a lot of energy and time putting out all these short-term fires. And the third thing I would say is that as a public member, the advertising of available public spaces for rent is not common knowledge. If this is a source of income for our budgets, I think that we should spend some time in marketing and advertising to make sure that our residents know that this is available, because the beauty of Wellington is the outdoors. And so I think residents would like to be outside and use these public spaces to celebrate milestones in their life. So that's all I got to say. Thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you. Anyone else present to speak? Looks like Nick Tella.
Hey, Nick Tella, 49 Myrtle. I just want to touch base and some things that I've heard during the library's meeting. One of the library meetings I attended maybe a week or two ago, going over their budget. And one thing that came up, I don't have the time marks in front of me right now, but there was at least 3 or 4 times within the meeting that I attended that the Board of Selectmen, and more so it seems to be Erica, is trying to influence the library on how they spend some money. Now, like one item in particular was the trash services. Apparently, the Board of Selectmen didn't like that the library was using the transfer station, because it's an expense to the taxpayers. No matter what, it's an expense to the taxpayers. If it's an outside service or going to the transfer, it's going to be there. I just think to reduce that $2,000, we can have the Public Works come over and pick up the trash and bring it over to the transfer station, because a lot of that money in the 2,000 is paying basically for the convenience of a third-party company to come and take it away. I think you can reduce that 2,000 in that situation. And one other thing, it might not be favorable for a library to hear it, but they have 2 co-directors, a programmer and an assistant. And when you add those 4 positions up all together, it's approximately $110,000 dollars. I understand that they're having issues, that they're underpaid compared to state averages and such. So to me, I think it would be wise to make the co-directors into one director, bump that salary to 60,000, and the other person go into the programmer position and also handle the assistant work and pay that person 50,000. So you have combined those four into two and given them a substantial amount of more money. And, I think that would make them happier. Yes, you might have a little bit more of a workload. But I mean, I can't really see a lot of foot traffic coming through the library. It's not a Tallinn, it's not a Mansfield, it is Wellington. I think it's manageable, and I think you would get, I think it would just be attractive to get a $60,000 pay instead of a 43, while taking on a little bit more work. That's all I have to say for now. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Anyone else in the room? I'll give you another shot. And I think sounds like the end of public present to speak. Good and welfare. Anyone around us here? Close by? Okay. So just want to encourage you to get, for context and overall what's going on in town, to, if you were not able to be at the school building committee's meeting last night, to tune in on YouTube and catch up with that. I appreciate the rigor of the board and asking questions and drilling down on the budgets. This is the first of many like this, and appreciate all that you guys are doing. Thank you, and Donna's support. So, thank you very much.
Move to adjourn.
Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Sorry, I always
No,
jumped the
that's
gun
what
a
you
little
do
bit on
that.
that.